Hello and welcome. If you're gearing up for competitive exams in India, you already know how topics like green crackers can pop up and be absolutely crucial. So, we've put together this explainer just for you, breaking down everything you need to know in a super clear, exam-focused way.
Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to start with the why, the whole pollution crisis that kicked this off. Then we'll nail down the official definition, get into the cool science behind them, and cover how to actually spot one. We'll look at the impact, and then, you guessed it, wrap it all up with the key takeaways you'll need for your exams.
So, first things first, the context. To really get why green crackers are even a thing, we have to understand the problem they're trying to solve. And that problem was a massive air pollution crisis, especially around festival times, that got so bad the Supreme Court had to get involved.
And here's the hard data that shows just how bad it was. Look at these Air Quality Index, or AQI numbers, from back in October 2017. We're seeing poor and even very poor air quality across the board in the Delhi NCR. And what's the main villain here? It's PM, or particulate matter, these tiny, nasty particles that get into your lungs.
So data like this is exactly what made the Supreme Court step in. They laid down the law. Only green crackers are allowed, and even then, only during a specific time window. Now, for your exams, this next bit is critical. They banned certain chemicals, and the big one to remember is barium. And who makes sure everyone follows the rules? Well, that job falls to the local police and the Delhi Pollution Control Committee, or as you should remember it, the DPCC.
Okay, so the court says green crackers only. But what in the world is a green cracker? It's a great question, and for your exam, you need to know that this term isn't just one thing, it actually covers two different official categories.
And here's the difference. It's pretty straightforward. On one hand, you have improved fireworks. Think of this as a hardware upgrade. They focus on physical changes, like making the shell smaller or using less raw material. On the other hand, you have new formulation fireworks, which is more like a software update. This is all about changing the chemical recipe itself, swapping out the bad stuff for cleaner ingredients. And this right here is the single most important number you need to remember on this topic. To earn that green label, a firework absolutely must cut its particulate matter emissions by at least 30%. 30%, that is a key fact. Burn that number into your brain.
So how on earth do they do that? How do they get that 30% reduction? Well, that brings us to the science of it all, and the credit for that goes to one very, very important national institution.
And that institution is CSIR-NERI. You'll want to remember that full name. The Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, National Environmental Engineering Research Institute. Seriously, if any question pops up about who developed green crackers or the science behind them, CSIR-NERI is your answer.
The science they came up with is actually pretty elegant. First, they get rid of the really toxic stuff, like barium. Just take it out completely. Second, they reduce the amount of other things like aluminum. And third, and this is the clever part, they add special ingredients that act as dust suppressants, basically trapping the bad particles right as they're created.
Now, CSIR-NERI developed three main types of these crackers. You've got Swaz, Star, and Safal. And to make your life easier for the exam, here's a simple little mnemonic. Just think SSS for a safer sound. It's a quick way to remember Swaz, Star, and Safal, and it connects them right to their purpose.
Okay, so the science is cool, the theory is great, but how does this all work in the real world? How can you, or maybe an officer on the street, tell a real green cracker from a fake, illegal one? Thankfully, there's a simple, mandatory two-step process. First, you look for the official green logo on the box. Second, you scan the QR code. You need both. And here's another great mnemonic for you. To see if a cracker is legit, check its LQ. L for logo, and Q for QR code. If it doesn't pass the LQ test, it's not the real deal.
So you scan that QR code? What's supposed to happen? What is it actually verifying that makes it so important?
Well, think of that QR code as its digital passport. It connects you straight to a database that shows you the manufacturer's details, the exact chemical recipe, and most importantly, its official certification from CSIR-NERI. If that QR code doesn't work or doesn't lead to that info, the cracker is not authorized. It's really that simple.
So we've got the rules, we've got the science, we've got the ID methods, but what's the end result?
Does it actually make a difference? Let's circle right back to where we started and look at the numbers on emission reduction. And here it is again. The main goal, the headline number, is that minimum 30% reduction in particulate matter we talked about. You know, there's a nice little bonus, about a 10% cut in harmful gases, but the real star of the show, the number you have to remember, is that 30% drop in PM.
All right, let's bring this all home. This last section pulls together every single key point we've talked about onto one slide. This is your ultimate cheat sheet, your high-yield revision tool for this entire topic.
Okay, let's run through it one last time. The problem? High PM pollution. The folks who fixed it? CSIR NCR. The chemical that got kicked out? Barium. The main goal? That magic 30% PM reduction. The two types? Improved for physical, new formulation for chemical. The three NCR crackers? Remember SSS, SWAS, STAR, SAFAL? How do you spot one? The LQ test for logo and QR code. And who's in charge of enforcement? The police and the DPCC. Got it?
And that leaves us with one final and pretty important thought. Look, green crackers are for sure a step in the right direction, scientifically, but when you think about the millions and millions of crackers that go off during a festival, is a 30% cut per cracker really enough to solve the huge pollution problem we see afterward? That's a big question, and it's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks so much for watching.